Hello there, welcome to this week's news summary. If you're learning about business or economics, then this will help you to make connections between the real world and your course content. Please hit subscribe, enable notifications so that you don't miss out on this great opportunity every week. This week we'll be looking at the energy price cap and its impacts. We'll also be discussing industrial action at the Royal Mail and at the ports of Felixstowe, and taking a quick look at the value of the pound and its impact, and also the effects of a CO2 shortage. Now, the main headline this week has been about the increase in the OFGEM energy price cap. Although the figure being bandied about is £3,549, it's important to note that this is only an estimated average for a typical household. The actual cap itself is on standing charges, it's on the price per unit of electricity and gas, and so although there may be some people that are paying less than this, there will also be people that will be paying significantly more. The cap itself only applies to households. Businesses, institutions like schools, they're not covered by this, and actually they're finding themselves under even greater pressure. The cap itself has risen by 80%, or will rise in October from its current level, and this is likely to have a huge impact on people's standard of living. We're likely to see huge supply side impacts as well. It's going to push up the cost of businesses providing their goods and services, and this itself is going to have a knock-on impact on GDP, on output and on employment. We're also going to see demand-side impacts as consumers are having to cut back in non-essential areas. So aggregate demand is likely to be falling across the country, and especially in those areas, sectors that are seen as being less necessities, more luxuries. We can also speculate further ahead. We're kind of looking here at possible interventions. Although we're in a bit of a limbo period, not having a government that's making large fiscal decisions, we're starting to see policies being suggested about supporting those on lowest incomes or even middle income earners, supporting businesses. And it's possible that that this is an opportunity to increase subsidies or encourage consumption of renewable energy sources. The government has already got some strategies and support in place for this, but maybe there'll be more coming in the future. So, worth investigating the impact of subsidies on these energy markets. Following on the cost of living crisis, this is also having a big impact on industrial relations. Two areas or two sectors that have experienced industrial relations this week is the postal service with Royal Mail, also dock workers at Felixstowe Port. Areas that this links into in your course is labour markets. Worth exploring monopsonies here, where there is a buyer of labour with significant power in that market, and the power that they have over the workforce, the labour force, and the role of trade unions in balancing that power out to provide a fairer market mechanism for wages. There's also discussions to be had. Royal Mail was privatised a few years ago. Whether that has actually led to improvements of the service, whether it's adaptable enough, maybe whether services that are seen as being essential should come under the control of the government through a nationalisation programme. In terms of business, you can look deeper into this. A lot of the industrial issues here are because of the changes that the Royal Mail management want to make to the service, and you could explore here the decision making that's gone into that process. If we're looking at decision making, we can say the role and importance of stakeholders. Which are more important? Is it the shareholders? Is it the workforce? Is it the customers? Are we looking here at business? Is the parcels part of Royal Mail more important than the day-to-day post that most households get? There's also a lot to explore here in terms of human resources and the change management and leadership. A lot of conflict between the chief executive and senior management of Royal Mail and the workforce. The leadership saying that we need this change in order to survive in the market, and the labour force just not buying into that and saying that, well, we want something different. Explore different leadership styles and whether the change management has actually happened correctly. Some very similar things happening in the private sector at Felixstowe. The dock workers there have begun an 8-day strike. This is having a really big impact on delivery of containers into the UK. Already there's speculation that this could hit Christmas, deliveries of goods up to that, whether it's the food that we're going to be eating or whether it's the presents that we're buying, because obviously we rely on imports for quite a lot of this. So again, as it has been over the last couple of years, a lot of opportunity to look at the supply chains in that sector. Also, as the role of the UK as the distribution centre for Europe, a lot of the cargo coming into Felixstowe is possibly intended for elsewhere, and the container firms, the shipping companies are saying, well, if we can't guarantee that we're going to be able to dock and unload at Felixstowe, do we really need to be going there? Some of the containers there coming in may be time-sensitive goods, and they're being diverted to other ports on the continent, and this could have a bigger long-term impact on the UK's overseas trade. Leading on from that, in overseas trade, latest figures for the value of pound sterling are that inflation and the condition of the UK economy is driving the value of the pound against the dollar down to lowest values in nearly my lifetime. A pound is currently only worth about $1.16. A year or so ago we were trading at $1.40. In my living memory, we'd go back to a pound being worth nearly $2. Although this is promising for exporters, this could be concerning for importers because they're having to pay more for the goods that they're importing. We're having to use more pounds to buy the same amount of this foreign dollar currency. This in itself could create further inflationary pressures if we are very reliant on those imports. Although, leading on from that, it is worth pointing out that the euro is experiencing similar issues, and the euro exchange rate has stayed broadly in line with the value of pound sterling. We're operating somewhere between a pound buying €1.18 and €1.17. So this isn't just something that's affecting the UK, it's an issue that the whole of Europe is facing also. And our final article for today, great if you're starting Year 12 economics, you're starting to find out about the interrelatedness of markets. Also, if you're looking at GCSE economics, or if you're studying business and are looking at the impact of rising costs on a business. A couple of years ago, there was a CO2 shortage as gas production plants around the UK and Europe were shutting for maintenance, and we're starting to see a similar issue occurring now. However, it's not because of maintenance, it's because of the increasing price of gas. And we think, well, CO2 doesn't come from gas. Well, actually, CO2 is a byproduct of ammonia production. Those two products are in joint supply, and ammonia production for fertilizer is very energy intensive. So some of the factories that produce this ammonia are closing down. As a result of that, there's a reduction in the supply of CO2. Now, why this is so important is that we use this in a huge amount of different industry in the UK. It's used in farming, it's used in the drinks industry to add fizz to our drinks, and it's also used in packaging. It helps to extend the shelf life of products, vegetables and meat and so on. So what we're going to see here is that this energy cost, it's another thing that can feed through into the rest of our economy and our spending habits and what we're spending money on, and a lot of these things we see as essentials. So this could in fact fuel inflation even more. Thank you for watching. I hope the news stories that we've talked through have made sense to you. If you've got any questions about them, please put them into the comments down below. If there's a news story that comes up that you'd like explaining, then please let me know and I'll get it into next week's article or do a video on it. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, enable notifications. It's going to help the channel massively if you can do that. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your week.